This is Vivo's latest mid-range phone. It's called the V29 Pro. It's got a 6.78-inch AMOLED screen, 120Hz, two 50-megapixel cameras. One is our selfie with autofocus, 4K support, a 12-megapixel 2x optical camera, and an 8-megapixel ultra-wide, 4,600 mAh battery with 80-watt fast charging, and it's all powered by the Dimensity 8200. The build of the V29 Pro is very good. It does have a plastic frame around the outside of it, but it's one of those dense frames that you just won't actually notice that it really is not metal. It kind of has a feel to it, and the paint job finish of the outside of it, this chrome log, that would almost make you believe it is metal, but it is not, because you don't see any antenna lines. I mean, you look on the inside here, that's also a little bit of a giveaway. So this Type-C port does not support video out, unfortunately, and we've got our SIM tray that takes 2 nano SIMs, single downwards firing loudspeaker. This by far is the biggest con of the V29 Pro. I don't know why they're still doing the single downwards firing loudspeaker. It's not a particularly good loudspeaker either. It's pretty average. So the back here, we've got a 8-megapixel ultra-wide, the weakest of the cameras. It's right here, 2x optical. That one is 12 megapixels, and then 50-megapixel main camera with image stabilization. So both electronic and optical. And we've got our aura light here on the back that you can shift and change the white balance of it. So great if you take a lot of low light selfies. It's very powerful. There's also a dual tone flash right there too as well, but you'll be using this one most of the time there when you can select it with the options for the flash. So this back material on it, it's really quite nice, and here not in the sunlight, just with my studio lights on it has a bit of a shimmer to it, a bit of a sparkle. But get this thing in the sun and it looks like that troll that sparkles. It really does. It shines. It's very different. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of this style to it. It does look nice when it's not in the direct sunlight. And then the buttons here you can see on the side. So we've got a curvature to our screen, which is an AMOLED, 120Hz. These buttons are again made out of plastic, but they feel very solid. They almost feel like they are metal, but I don't believe they are. Now the screen, this is 6.78 inches, 120Hz, as I just said before. And the resolution is quite high, 1260 by 2800, so it is a very sharp screen. Now the brightness, just to talk a little bit about that, because I can measure just over 1000 nits, but you have to have it on the auto mode. If you just do it manually, it's around about 560 nits indoors. It is a very sharp looking screen, great colors to it. And when you jump into these settings, I'll just show you quickly, we've got our typical options. There's a lot in here. The refresh rate, I always override this. I mean, it's 120 Hz. You'd only be running it at 60 if you wanted to save on battery life. Smart switch, their option is there too, of course. You've got some other things in there you can tweak and a few other settings, but the best one in here is the screen colors. By default, it's on standard. You've got pro and bright. You can adjust the white balance, the temperature right there. So really good. Curved screens, I am still not a huge fan of them. Yes, when you're holding it, it does make the phone feel a little slimmer, make it feel a little bit more comfortable. And for the gestures, yeah, maybe with the curvature to it, it makes it good, but I still prefer to have a completely flat display. Now, what I've seen a lot of with the curvature is you can see this, that there's a little bit of color shift right on the edge because of this. And you see that the cutout front-facing camera, that one is 50 megapixels here. Now, it does have autofocus. It's a reasonably wide lens, and I do like the fact that it's also an f2.0, a little bit brighter than others. Not bad. It does support 4K video, but 4K video with stabilization, as you see later on, does not seem to work, only 1080p. So overall, nice, solid, good build quality to it. My only real criticism is it doesn't have the dual loudspeakers, just that bottom loudspeaker. There'll be a sample later on in this review of what it does sound like. So the built-in fingerprint reader, it does work well. I find the position should be about here, but it's a little low. You get used to it, and that time it was a bit slow. So I'll do that again. The main thing is it is very accurate. Okay, that was more of a normal speed there. Now, I'm a big fan of their ultrasonic fingerprint readers in their flagship X series. So the X80, 90, and then the 100. I think the 100 also does have the ultrasonic again. Works really good. This is optical, but I do like it, and it is working really well for me. So UI, we have Fun Touch OS with this. It's based off Android 13. 256 gigabytes of storage with my model here. 12 gigabytes of RAM. You can allocate a little bit more, which is caching virtual memory there too, so it's not physical RAM, but some people think they're just adding actual RAM, so don't make the mistake of going, oh, I've got 20 gigabytes of RAM with this model. You haven't, you've got the 12 physical, but it does aid in the fluidity of things, and I gotta give them credit. We're due here that this is very fast, very smooth. I've experienced no lag with it. The Dimensity 8200 performing really well with that 12 gigabytes of RAM, and it just doesn't show any slowdown at all. No issues with it. So great OS, fast, and I like it. It's getting better. Fun Touch is definitely improving. So that 120 hertz of the UI and 120 frames per second mean that everything is fast, it is fluid. The screen also, I wanted to mention that I haven't seen any flickering, any issues with it. I think it's a solid panel they do offer for a mid-range phone. Very nice, very vibrant. So when you get it and you turn it on first, you are going to see a bit of this. So there is some pre-installed bloatware. So we've got Spotify, Snapchat, Netflix. I wouldn't really classify that one as bloatware, so there's a few apps in there, LinkedIn too, but not excessive. It's not like Xiaomi or the Poco phones, Redmi phones tend to have a lot of bloatware. Well, there's only just those kind of apps there, which isn't too bad. So charge time from 9 to 86%. For some reason, it stopped recording it, then timing it. That was 36 minutes. And it's good, the charge rate. So it's 80 watts, and to fully charge took about 43 minutes there. And you normally get, and it is their claim, that you can charge it to 50% in just 18 minutes. I can confirm that. So that is good, that it's approximately 18 minutes. The performance here with Antutu, you can see not bad at all for a mid-range phone, getting over 800,000 points. The Dimensity 8200 is a good chipset. I think it's fine. There's no issues at all with it. And the UFS 3 storage that we do have is fast. It's not bad at all. You can see the reads and the writes decent enough there. Now, it's not as fast as, of course, USB 4.0, but it's still very, very good here. And again, it's not going to really bottleneck or slow things down here with the phone. And the chipset isn't either. I don't really experience lag. More good news here is that it doesn't throttle at all. It's not powerful enough. The performance doesn't generate enough heat to really make this phone throttle at all. And the cooling is, by far, it's adequate. It does the job really well. It doesn't even throttle 3% here, okay? That's really good. 2.2% performance loss in 20 minutes with this very demanding 3D benchmark, so that's great news. You see it in the gaming as well. The frame rate is constant, it's solid. It does not drop down or dip. Now, we do have Camera2 API support here. You can see that we've got full, so not quite level 3, but this is all of the cameras, and not bad. You can use Gcam ports, open camera if you want. Pass here is a good result passing there, so you can use your banking apps and whatnot if you want. Now, there is NFC, but there's no wireless charging with the phone, and we've got a wideband security level 1. Again, this is excellent, good to see, and that is Netflix in full HD. Doesn't have Dolby Vision support, but we've got HDR10+. And battery life, just to mention that briefly now, it has been okay. It's around about 7.5 hours of on-screen time if you use 120 hertz. And you've got the resolution as well. That's a bit taxing, a little bit more taxing on it. The screen looks good, the brightness, depends on what you're doing, but normally around 7.5 hours of on-screen time. If you do anything demanding, then it's going to be a lot less, of course, like gaming. Now, this is by far the most disappointing thing, as I mentioned there when we looked at the design and features of the phone, is the loudspeaker. So downwards firing here, there is no speaker up here, and that's the disappointing part. Now, the speakers that got the loudness, it's there, right? But it's not a quality speaker. It doesn't have a huge amount of bass, and the sound of it is quite flat. But I'll give you a sample now. It's at 100% volume. You hear that, yeah, it's loud enough. It's just not amazing for loudspeakers. Genshin Impact, this is on the highest possible settings, and it is playable here with old Dimensity 8200, but you will sometimes notice in some areas there is a definite bit of lag, and you probably want to lower the settings down. I don't recommend with this chipset running on the highest possible that I have set at the moment with 60 frames per second. It can get quite a bit laggy in certain areas where you are. You just do notice that in bigger battles and whatnot, but at the moment here it's not too bad. Just be prepared for that. So I would go with medium settings, I think is best. And if you do find that it's getting really choppy, you could even put that frame rate down to 30 if you don't mind gaming at 30 frames per second. But it does look stunning on this screen. With our V29 Pro, so the front-facing camera does allow us to fit quite a bit into this shot because this is a wide-angled lens, and it also does support 4K 30 frames per second and 4K 60, which you don't see with a lot of mid-range phones. Now, the quality of this front-facing camera, I think, is very good, but you'll notice that there is no image stabilization. Well, you need to enable that first, and by default, it is actually off. So I'm going to turn it on now. But when you do turn it on, it goes down to 1080p, the resolution. So unfortunately, 4K doesn't have electronic image stabilization, only 1080p. I mean, it's good to have that 4K option, but you are going to have to use a gimbal when you shoot footage with 4K. Otherwise, it's just a little too shaky, I feel. Rear footage, we've got 4K 30 and 60 frames per second, and the focus and the stabilization looks very good. It is quite aggressive, I've noticed, electronic image stabilization with quite a bit of a crop, but it smooths out that footage a lot. As you see, as I just walk along here, normally it's not looking too bad. So I can zoom in here just a little bit. This is now 2.2 times digital zoom. Of course, the more you zoom in, the worse the quality is going to get. And if I pull back, it just goes to 1. It won't swap over to the ultra-wide camera, unfortunately. And that's because our ultra-wide camera, which I'm now shooting with, this only does support 1080p footage, not 4K. So that's why you can't just swap over to it on the fly if you start out recording with 4K. You need to just start with 1080p, then you'll have access to all of those cameras. So again, this is using electronic image stabilization here. For 1080p, the quality is okay, a little bit overexposed in some places sometimes. Looking at our cameras now, this is a front-facing selfie, and okay, there's a lot of detail there. A little bit overexposed my face. Portrait shots do look good, but skin tones a little bright, a bit of skin smoothing going on. Ultra-wide with this shot, again, it's good, but the ultra-wide camera I do find to be the weakness. It's only 8 megapixels, as you can see from this other shot. And here we do have the main camera followed up with our 2x optical zoom camera, which still looks good, but 2x digital would probably be about the same. So I'm not really too sure why they decided to go with the 2x optical 12 megapixel camera. Macro shots, they do look good, a lot of detail. And this is what did surprise me, is night shot. So this first shot is with the night shot mode off, doesn't look good, there's a lot of noise. But turn on night mode and look at how much better that looks. I think they're very good shots here for low light, considering this is a mid-range phone. This is about flagship level, what I see with a lot of flagships, taking night shots that look pretty much the same as this. So well done Vivo with the night shot mode. So it isn't a bad mid-range phone at all. I like the screen, the refresh rate, the ROM is super fast, fluid, I don't notice any lags at all. Gaming performance isn't bad at all for a mid-range phone. The battery life is okay, 7 or so hours of on-screen time is what you'll be able to get out of this if you're not gaming. Kind of light, normal tasks, WhatsApp messages, taking a few photos and whatnot. The camera performance, it definitely does excel for mid-range phones. I believe it's one of the better ones there. Good selfies, it can take very nice photos. That main camera, the 50 megapixel one, and because of the optical image stabilization, low light performance is pretty much basically flagship level from those examples that I have seen and I've shown you in this video. So good cameras. And then the charge time, well, it's not the fastest out there, but it's well under an hour to fully charge the 4,600 milliamp hour battery. The downsides to it is, again, we have just that single downwards firing loudspeaker. They really need to put stereo speakers into this. They could also use that earpiece like other brands do as a loudspeaker, and that would solve the issue. I don't know why they don't do this. There's no wireless charging, but I wouldn't really expect that to be a must, especially for a mid-range phone. And finally, the 4K video, as I showed you from the samples there, that it's not amazing, especially if you go 4K with the selfie camera. Stabilization is not really there. It doesn't seem to use electronic image stabilization. You have to revert to 1080p, which is a bit of a shame there. So there's certainly room for improvement, but overall not a bad, quite a decent mid-range phone here from Vivo in the V29 Pro. Thanks a lot for watching this review.